Good afternoon. It is 1 o'clock and we had an appointment at 1 o'clock. I'm so glad to see you all. Everyone's lunching and fixing their hair. It's so spectacular. What do I need to do to get everybody else to turn their cameras on? Thank you, Erica. That's spectacular. Thank you, Marissa. We appreciate that. All righty. So, I'm excited to spend the next 58 and a half minutes or so with you to kind of help you solidify your goals, but more than just a discussion about your goals, I really want to talk about implementation of your goals, right? And so the first thing I want to do before we do anything is kind of open it up to, well, what do you want to be sure that you get out of today? What did you come here hoping to hear, hoping to learn, hoping to talk about, hoping to ask? What do you want to make sure that we cover before our time is up? Just unmute and I will call on you or pop it in the chat, depending. John Mendez.
One thing I kind of want to get from today is I got a lot of big plans, but I'm having like trouble kind of like systematizing it and like keeping track of what I do and kind of getting myself in order so that I can really start like ramping up my business.
So systems.
Yeah, pretty much, because I can't get to my goals if I'm just like freestyling all the time and trying to keep it all in my head.
Agreed. What else? That's it. John's the only one who came here today with a plan. Come on. What are you expecting to hear? What do you want to make sure that we cover? What's important to you, Marissa?
I guess what could be helpful is like how to break down some larger goals to like the micro steps to get there.
Perfection. Yes, we will absolutely do that on my agenda, along with systems, but on my agenda right at the top. Because if all you have is some big number that you're staring at, and you haven't broken it down to what that looks like in terms of activities that actually drive those numbers, and then attach some time frames and sometimes some who's to that, you never get anywhere. What else? April.
I'd like to know what other people do as far as like time blocking and kind of like the perfect schedule, or within the schedule kind of like a punch list of like what type priorities should be.
Great. Is it okay if we call that schedule management?
Yes.
Beautiful. Yeah, we will absolutely get to that. What else, Dana?
Well, I agree with what everybody has so far said. I want to get all that stuff. But I think for me personally, I have like this underlying need to just get to it like a training class right now, because I'm so still mentally in that vacation mode that I need to kind of like kick my butt into gear and get working again.
Got it. Yeah, we're going to talk about some accountability structures that you can put in place, which kind of speak to that.
I have a suggestion for that.
Yes,
snap out of it.
That's right. No more eating good stuff. No more spending money. Now we just have to go to work. Right. That's what January is all about.
But eating good stuff and spending money is so much fun.
Well, yes, it is. That's what you have November and December for, and they'll be back. Federico, hold that up again. He's got the right idea. Diet Snapple. There we go. No sugar added, baby. John.
Can we also go over the 411? Like I hear a lot of agents mention it, and I've seen it before, but I think I filled it out one time, but it got lost somewhere. So can we go over that as well?
Yeah, sure. I'd be happy to do that. That's a great idea. Perfect. Anybody else before we jump in to make sure we cover all these things?
I don't know what a GPS is.
A GPS? Perfect. Yep.
Because I know that kind of goes with the 411, I think, but
yeah,
I don't understand like the difference between the two concepts or what really they are.
Got it. Just quickly, one of them you use in your car. The other is a business tool. Oh, no, you're talking about the other GPS. I understand now. Sorry about that, April. global position. No. Right. Well, so we'll cover that. We'll cover the GPS, otherwise known as the 135, and then the 411. So if you hear 135 or you hear GPS, they're the same thing, just PS. And then the 411. I'll show you examples, and we'll discuss that. Erica.
I think just pretty much just like putting a schedule together. Like for me, I have another full-time job, so it's been really hard for me to like, find, where I fit in at and be able to like multitask and do, several things. Like I've been with you guys since like April, and I kind of just like let it go to the side and focus on my job. But I'm also spending money and investing money into KW, so I want to make sure I'm getting, the best out of it. And I pretty much agree with everything else everyone else has said as well.
Got it. Yeah, we have to make sure that your license is paying you back, right? So we will cover some opportunities to do that. Nikki.
Along with getting more listings and buyers, I want to also expand my database as far as realtors. I have someone out in North Carolina, but I don't know how to connect them to a brokerage out there so she can get started. She just got her license, so trying to expand that.
Got it. So I'm hearing you correctly. You have a friend out of state who just got licensed, and you need to connect them with a brokerage.
Yes, and I told her I'll have someone contact her to set up the appointment, but I don't know how to go about doing that.
Got it. I can absolutely tell you that. We can shoot that in towards the end of this. And if for some reason we don't get to that, just stay on, and after we end this, I'll walk you through it. And if anybody else wants to hear that, stay on with Nikki if we don't get to it earlier. All right, so that's an excellent agenda. Paired with what I had prepared for you, I think you'll get most, if not all, of exactly what we just discussed from today. And if you find not, then just raise your hand and say, hey, what about X? And we'll make sure we pivot back around to that. So I do want to make sure that this is really more of a conversation and not me just kind of spewing information at you. But that, of course, requires you to participate. So don't hesitate. Oh, I was cold this morning. Now I'm hot. Yikes. Get rid of this. So don't hesitate to ask questions. Don't hesitate to jump on in. Just unmute and allow me to call on you. That way we don't end up talking over one another, which would be awesome. All right. So Debbie sent out an email yesterday that I'm certain you all saw and read and took some action around, right? And what she said was, in preparation for today's conversation, the first thing you really need to do is be certain that you have clarity of both vision and your why, right? Some people think they're the same thing. I think they're slightly different, right? So what is the vision for your business for 2022? And what is the why that gets you up out of bed every morning to make sure that you are driving your business forward? And I just realized that I didn't change my name. So just in case no one knows who I am, there we go. And so what are your thoughts about that? I mean, have you spent time? It's one thing to write the numbers down, right? Most people immediately go towards, okay, I want to make $100,000, or I want to make $200,000, or I want to make $50,000, or I want to make $500,000, or whatever that is. But do you see the value of vision and why? Why is that so important to get that under your, to get that clear?
I feel like that's like your driving force as to why you're doing this.
Yeah, I love the term driving force, Marissa. I like that a lot. Bogdan.
There's no why without vision. There's no vision without why.
Yeah, so they're again, I think some people think they're interchangeable. I think they are different and they feed each other, right? It's a back and forth, right? If you have, right?
It's just like we tell clients, or what we, in terms of creating people is thoughts make you think and feelings make you act. When I'm in touch with what feelings I want to generate as a result of my vision, then you know, then it makes all the difference for me in the world with my motivation, because, you know, it's not, because ultimately that's what I'm looking to get. I'm looking to have great, you know, I'm looking to have, you know, to have my business help create the great feelings that I desire, and having a clear vision of what I want that's going to create those feelings. What do I want? Do I want a car? Do I want a house? Do I want to travel? What do I want to do?
Yeah.
Connecting my feelings with my big why. That's a absolutely immense for in terms of motivation for me.
Yeah, well said. Donna.
Yeah, and just like Andy was saying, once you know what your big why is, once you've taken a moment to figure that out, to think about, and it's going to be different at different stages of your life, whether it's a life goal or it's just a 5-year goal or whatever it is. Once you figure that out, then it isn't just about making a certain number of dollars. It's
Right.
about taking the next step to make sure you end up there. And here's the other thing that I realized that it helps. And this is a new revelation at my advanced age. I finally got it. It teaches you how to be appropriate in in each moment. It teaches you what to
Yes.
say yes to and
Right.
what to say no to, or not right now to.
Right.
And that just makes every decision so much easier.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. And the only thing I would change about what you just said is that I think we can argue that your age is not as advanced as you might think it is.
And so here's the thing on that. So thank you. And yet it is. It is when you look at, and this is not a joke, when you look at the timeline of how long human beings actually live, I am closer to that other end than to the beginning. And that does put a certain relevance in your head as well.
Yeah, it's funny because, and that will manifest itself differently for everybody, right? Some people that will create an urgency, some people that will create the opposite of an urgency, right? Depending on where you're at in your world. 100%. Janine.
Purpose.
Mm.
You know, purpose, what drives us, what motivates us. For me, it's my kids, you know, abundance, health, and helping others, you know. And so I try to be more general with it. But I think if you don't know your why, you're going to end up kind of lost, because I think every time we wake up in the morning, we have to wake up with some sort of purpose to why are we alive? Why are we here? You know, what is the point of me going about my day? And I think I don't know, I kind of live my life like that with even small things, and have good results as you know, as a way of thinking like that.
Yeah, I love that. And if I could just spend another half a minute on what Janine just said, right? The remember that your why doesn't have to always be this big, massive, I'm going to change the planet in the next 12 months type of thing, right? It can be a small why that helps pull you forward into other bigger whys or some kind of larger life goal. And don't be afraid to have your why, your reason, your purpose for getting up and achieving these things and having your goals be non-negotiable, because that's where we're headed, guys, right? The idea of this conversation is to underline for you that just setting up your business plan for the year, anyone can do that. Actually achieving it and surpassing it only comes when you recognize that what you put down on paper is a non-negotiable. The option of, well, we'll just do less than that, you take that away. Right. And when you marry that to something really important, whether it's a short term or a long term, whether it's small or big, or whether it's for you personally or for someone else, none of that should be judged. Right. It took me and the reason I say that out loud is because it took me a long time to get to the point where I was okay with the fact that a lot of my whys had everything to do with me, everything to do with how I was setting myself up, what I wanted my life to look like. And then as I started to approach some of those things, it broadened. And I said, okay, well, what does my family need? And how can I do that? And as I started to approach that, I broadened it to, well, am I in a position now to have my why encompass changing the planet, helping others, doing right? So it was a growth process for me, and maybe it's not a growth process for all of you, but my point is, don't get stuck in that mindset of this seems selfish, because if it's about you in the beginning, as you hit those goals, that may change, it may not. You don't have to feel guilty about your why, because it's your why, it's your purpose, it's your reason, right? That's the point. Debbie, and then John, then we're going to move forward.
Oh, I had my,
And Dee, sorry.
So what you just said, I think is really important, because I think sometimes people think I have to do it all now. And honestly, you get to more when you take it in foundational steps and keep that big goal always in mind. Big goals pull us through small goals. So keep that in front. It's why we use vision boards. We have those big visions in front of our eyes to do the minute in the moment to get us closer to the big goals. And then the expanded opportunity, as you just said, to do more once you've gone through the smaller goals.
Yeah, 100%. It's kind of like it's the stepping stones, right? It's just stairs, it's a ladder, it's whatever you want, analogy you want to use, right? One foot in front of the other. You don't necessarily have to take one giant leap. John, and then Dee.
I was gonna say that I realized that there's two main types of fuel that you use to push yourself forward in this world. Is motivation, and then there's discipline. And that big why kind of gives you the discipline, because motivation is just an emotion, at least in my eyes, and emotions come and go. So like the days that the emotions aren't there, you're not feeling them as strongly, it's like the only thing that's going to be able to push you forward is the discipline. And that big why kind of helps you instill that discipline so that you can move forward on the days that the motivation isn't all there. And to kind of touch on what you said really quickly is if you don't put yourself first and make sure that you're the best person that you can be, you'll never be able to fully help those around you or help as many people as you potentially could than if you didn't better yourself. So yeah.
100%. 100%. I agree with all that. Dee.
so I'm going to piggyback on something Donna said, which normally happens between Donna and I. And that is about the why changes sometimes because of where you are in your life, perhaps, or whatever. So keep that in mind. That's what I'm working on now with both my coach and my therapist. And they're very proud because, as Janine said about family, that has been part of my big why forever. And now I realize that they're flown the coop, as we say. And since they've flown the coop, it now has become a realization that it's got to be more about me or my big why. And so as we change where we are in our lives, the why does shift. Doesn't mean that the family isn't still there, but things shift. So keep that in mind with your big whys.
Love it. Love it. Love it. And so to put a period on the end of this sentence, recognize that just writing numbers down on a piece of paper doesn't allow you to create that world in real life, right? That's just numbers on a piece of paper. So the next step, so defining that purpose, that vision, that why, and understanding what gets you up out of bed every morning will start to make the things that you wrote on the paper or the things that the notes you take today, they'll start to turn them into non-negotiables for you. Because there is a simple reality that for many of you on this call, the business plan that you wrote, you're already 6 days into the new year, you've already given half of it away. You're not doing the activities that are necessary to actually create the results that you wrote down on your piece of paper, right? And that's not a judgment. That's just real. I'm guilty of it myself. I can outline 2 or 3 things already from my business plan. And I'm like, okay, I'm already like a month behind on that, and it's only the 6th of January. So the last thing I'll say, Debbie wrote in the chat, don't fall victim to your emotions, right? That's really kind of huge, especially from the perspective of judgment, right? Oftentimes we're our own worst enemy and our own easiest, I'll give her or him a pass folks. So either side of that is dangerous to your achievement, right? If you're harder on yourself than anybody else, it can spin your brain into, oh my goodness, I haven't done it anyway. We're 6 days in, and Rick just said I'm behind, and oh, you know what? Forget it. I might as well not do it, because how can I ever catch up? It's been a whole 6 days. It's really been 5.5 days. So see, I'm already exaggerating, right? But that's the point. Don't turn that into judgment. That's just a fact, right? Start seeing things as simple facts and start using those facts to inform your decisions, instead of allowing emotion to creep in and having judgment be that emotion, because judgment is no good for anybody. Fact, analysis of the fact, and then making decisions being informed by those facts, that will help you achieve far faster than the, oh my goodness, I'm behind, I'm this, I'm that, right? So just be careful about your emotions. Doesn't mean don't have them. I'm not saying be a robot. However, just be cautious about, they're either helping you or they're not. And depending on the emotion and when you're having it, you have to answer that question. So past your vision and your why, your purpose, you need to get really specific. You need clarity of what it takes to achieve, right? So you've set this target, right? Some of you have set a target of money you want to make. Some of you have set a target of number of homes you want to sell. Some of you have broken those down into additional targets of how many houses you want to list versus how many buyers you want to list, and then how you're going to sell properties from those listed clients, right? You need really specific clarity around what it takes. So if your number is, if you wrote down, I want to sell 12 houses this year, I want to sell 30 houses this year. Well, what does it take to do that? Does the business plan itself then take you deeper into a conversation of what it actually takes? And do you have real clarity and specifics around what that takes? This is where April's question about the GPS comes in to play, right? The reason I like the 135, by the way, GPS stands for, in this scenario, goals, strategies, whoops, did I screw that up? Goals, priorities, and strategies, right? Because the 135 follows the goal, the priority, and the strategy. The G, the goal, is the one. So what is that one for you? Well, I'm going to sell 15 houses this year. So there's your one, your G. Your P is your three, right? What are your 3 priorities that you're going to focus on to make sure that those 15 sales show up by December the 31st? And then under each of those 3 priorities, you have 5 strategies. So it's like a little pyramid. You have the 1, then you have the 3, then underneath the 3, you have the 5. And the 5 are action items, right? Those are the things that you're going to do. Make sure that the strategies themselves have a verb in them, right? If you have nouns and adjectives on your GPS, at some point, it's not really a GPS. You need to have verbs in those strategies, because that's all the doing. What are you actually going to do to feed each of those 3 priorities, which feed into that main goal? I'll give you a quick example. I'm going to sell 15 houses this year. I'm going to do it by focusing on my database, hosting open houses, and doing social media campaigns. Those are my 3 priorities I'm going to focus on. Well, underneath each of those 3 priorities, you need 5 action items. What are you going to be doing with your database? So that you can get up every morning and say, okay, am I doing the things that I outlined? And you have those action items under each of those 3 sources, each of those 3 priorities. April, does that make sense in terms of just kind of a quick overview of the 135, of the GPS? Okay, good. So the specifics are really important, right? It's easy to say I'm going to make $250,000. It's really easy. As a matter of fact, everyone could just do it right now. I'm going to make $250,000. I'm going to make $2 million. I'm going to make $10 million. The hard part is tying that back to what am I going to do that actually brings that into my world, right? You've got to be focused on activities. This is one of those scenarios where deep dive versus snorkeling is very important. You need to keep asking yourself questions to make sure you're getting down to specifics. I'm going to sell 15 houses. Okay, well, how are you going to sell 15 houses? Janine, go ahead.
Yeah, I understand, and I've also written down, goals last year, this year. It's something I always do. But one of the things that I've come into practice doing is I try not to limit myself by writing it too specifically. It's kind of a law of attraction thing. So someone asked me, well, like, how many houses do you want to sell in a year? And I said, the ceiling's unlimited. Like, sure, it's great to have a goal, but I didn't want to, come out and say a specific number because I felt like it was limiting my ability to have abundance, my ability to, potentially meet that. I say, yeah, I want to do 5 transactions a month, but do I want to say a specific dollar amount, I just felt like it was limiting. I don't know what your thought is on that.
Yeah, sure. And I appreciate you bringing that to the table, right? And so my thought is, it kind of depends on you, right? Each of you will react differently to what you write down, because there are some of you who will say, well, I feel like those numbers are limiting. And some of you will write down numbers and say, well, I feel like those numbers they're almost debilitating because they don't seem real to me. They don't seem possible. Here's what I would suggest. I would suggest a 2-number system. I will tell you that this is how we work with our Debbie and I work with our own businesses, right? We set numbers that are the floor for the business, which means regardless of what happens, this is what will show up. And we build activities, we hire to that, we build all the supporting structure underneath that to ensure X. And so maybe that's 24 houses, right? So you say, I'm going to sell 24 houses this year, and that is my absolute floor. And all the activities I'm going to build will ensure that I hit that 24 number. However, my target, notice I didn't say ceiling, because as Janine pointed out, you don't set a ceiling, right? The sky's the limit on where you can go. However, the target number, my floor is 24. What I really want to do is 36. Now Janine's point was, when I say 36 as that target number, that feels like a cap. It's not a cap in my world. It's a target. And the really important piece of this conversation is, what did I do last year? Because if you want to bring a sense of reality to the conversation, right? If you sold 3 houses last year, you've got to be doing something very, very different this year in order to sell 36. Would you agree with that? Right? The activities have to be way different, right? 3 houses is you were kind of dabbling, and you kind of fell into some clients or whatnot, or you started in September of the year, and so there wasn't really a full year. So to set the floor of 24, I'm not saying you can't go from 3 to 24. You just better have real clarity around how very different your activities are going to be, and a real clear accountability structure that supports that, to make sure that you are showing up differently. In terms of target versus unlimited, the target gives you something to stretch for, right? If my floor is going to be 24, I'm going to stretch for that 36. What we do is we just monitor and track everything. So if by June we're already at 23, well, clearly the floor is going to be met, Can I sell another 6 or 7 houses in the last couple of months of the year? Yes, certainly. So I may adjust that target now. Now I'm going to adjust the target to 48 and stretch to that and see where that brings me. So I don't know if that answered the question, Janine, or not, but that's how I view things, is you have a floor, then you have a target, and yet the ceiling is unlimited, and you just continue to track month by month and start making adjustments. If you're overachieving, well, then why stop? Let's just keep going. Let's whatever we're doing, keep doing it and achieve even higher.
Yeah, yeah, thank you for commenting. Yeah, no, I mean, I've done the business plan and wrote very specific things down. It's just when it comes to, I want to say, financial abundance, I'm careful of not capping. I like how you put that, of not capping it. That it's a target. I thank you for that. So now I could kind of think of that in a little bit of different mindset. But yeah, no, I'm not without a plan or with the good news.
Sure.
Everything I write down in this thing, I have a great habit of achieving. If I write it down old school, like in the old school planner thing. So,
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah.
So I still do that. People make fun of me, but it's okay.
Yeah, I'm not going to make fun of you because I do it too. Anna.
Thank you.
So when I listened to Janine, what popped up in my mind, I recently read a book. It's called Go for No. And what in that book fascinating for me is that's true. Sometimes when we put some numbers, let's say I want to sell like 20 properties this coming year, then it's kind of like limited. And if I will reach that goal, then I'm kind of like laid back, relax, and like, yes, I reached my goal. What in that book recommends, it just set up no. So how many no's you want to get? And even if you reach that, specific amount that you want to sell per year, you still have that rest no's that you need to achieve. And that's kind of like drive you more, and I think it's very interesting conception.
Yeah, I love that. That's awesome. What's the name of the book?
Rick, it's called Go for No. I'll show you in a second. I will find and I'll show you.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I want to read that. That's awesome. Donna.
I just wanted to piggyback on something you said because it's so critical. So you said, look back and see what you did last year. And when you do that, and that is, to see where I am so I know how to get forward, but not just how many houses you sold. Look back and see what you actually did in terms of working on your business. Because if you want to sell a certain number of houses, you have to also ask yourself, really realistically, am I willing to do what it takes to actually achieve that? It's what you said. You said, it's easy to say, I want to make X number of dollars. And that means you have to do the following things consistently, regularly. You have to say no to some stuff. You really have to look at the whole thing, just not the number, because you earned those 3 houses and you're going to have to earn the 36 houses, and it takes a lot. And in terms of the cap, there's a whole concept about running through, putting a cap on your target. So there's a whole thing about the mental running through the tape in a race. You don't run to the finish line. Elite athletes run through that. They know they have gas left in the tank to keep going, because guess what? You met that goal. We're going to have another goal next year. Yeah. And it's more than likely going to be higher than the one you just set. So run through it. Yeah.
100%. I love that. Thank you for that. I love what Debbie put in the chat too. I'll bring that up. Right? Your mind doesn't wrap itself around as much as possible. Your mind doesn't wrap itself around more, right? And I remember having a conversation one time with a coach as we were working through kind of goal setting. I said, well, what does that look like? I'm like, well, you know what, as long as it's more, I'm okay. Like, okay, well, let's talk about your income. So what did you earn last year? And say, okay, whatever it was, $100,000. Okay, so if I gave you you earned $100,000 and a quarter, that's more. Are you okay then? You're good? Like, well, no, that's not what I meant. I meant like substantially more. Okay. Oh, substantially more. Okay. So if you earned 100,000 and I gave you an extra dollar, is that substantial? What's substantial? Is 5,000 substantial? Is 7,000 substantial? Is 10,000 substantial? Or do you need an extra $100,000 for it to be? The point is, you've got to get clarity. You've got to get specific. You've got to name the target such that your brain knows what to go after. It's like the concept of asking yourself a question before you go to bed. Because when you ask yourself powerful questions before you go to bed, guess what? Your brain spends 7 or 8 hours searching for solutions. Suddenly you wake up in the morning, you think, oh, I could do it that way. Or throughout the next day, your brain is searching for those solutions. That's the power of using that sleep time. If you think sleep is just for sleep, you're missing out on a powerful tool, right? Sleep is for, I don't have to work. My brain's just going to do the work for me and figure stuff out. But you have to ask yourself powerful questions before bedtime in order for that to work. All right. Yeah, I like what Debbie just said there too. People always look at the end result and often forget the work in the middle. Yeah, that's true. That's true. That's awesome. And nothing we're saying here should be interpreted as limit yourself, because that's not what we're saying. That's not the conversation, right? I'm all for unlimited. I'm all for set up target, meet and exceed that target, and then set a new target and set a new target and set a new target. Like my ability to set higher and higher targets is what is unlimited for me. My ability to earn at higher and higher levels is unlimited. However, the activities have to root themselves to get someplace, right? It's kind of the concept of a dollar that doesn't know what it's being earned for typically remains unearned, right? So it's that same concept. Yes, Nikki.
So it goes, I learned something, and I don't know if this is going to help someone else. When you're setting goals, instead of looking at the big step, taking the smaller steps is what matters more. I had an issue with looking at the big picture. How do I get there, and skipping all the smaller ones?
Yeah.
And that
you and everybody else, Nikki. Right? Because it's human nature. We set that target. We want to achieve all the way out here. But again, we forget that there's all those little steps to get there, right? You can't run a mile without running a half mile. You can't run a marathon without first running a mile. You have to get through 1 mile, then the next mile, then the next mile, then the next mile. At some point, all of that adds up to 26.2, and then you run through the finish tape and you've run the marathon. But you don't just run a marathon. You've got to run all the in between distances first before you get there. So Nikki brought us to activities. Let's stay on activities for a smidge. Every single thing that you focus on, every single day that you work, in my opinion, should be all about activities. It's about what you're doing. Know where you're going. Do what you're doing. So if you're going to sell 24 houses this year, well, break that apart. How many listings do I have to take, and how many buyers do I have to list in order to come up with 24 sold properties? Does every single buyer that you sign buy a house and close? No. So there are conversion rates now, right? Does every single listing you take sell? Even in the last 12 to 18 months, the answer to that is still no. In the last 12 to 18 months, the answer is, yeah, most of the time. And yet still not 100%. And remember, you can't build your business. Don't build a business plan based on the best market ever in the history of Earth, right? You've got to build your business plan based on you and normalization. Because when you build it based on normalization, if it doesn't normalize and stays really hot and you're still doing the do, well, you'll just earn more. You'll close more. But don't expect that. Don't expect market assistance. right? That's, I think, one of the traps, especially goal setting when the market is moving quickly. Don't build a plan expecting market assistance. Debbie and I built plans for our businesses that had very little growth year over year as our floor. We know what we want from our businesses, and so we've set aggressive targets. The floor is very similar to what we just achieved this past year with a small growth factor. We used 5%. Because here's the other thing that's really important to remember. Your goals are supposed to excite you and drive you and create that tingly feeling when you wake up in the morning and say, oh, what am I doing today to be able to, does anybody else make lists to cross things off? Sometimes I do something that's not on my list. I go and put it on my list just so I can cross it off. That's how sick I am, right? But that tingly feeling doesn't show up if you're staring at numbers, not in action, and not doing the things that actually matter and bring you closer. As a matter of fact, then it starts to become debilitating for many of you, right? You start to spiral down. Oh, I just can't do that. I can't do that. So be really careful. I have no idea where I was going with that. That's all right, I'll think of it. So where were we at? We were at staying rooted in activities. What are the activities that you are focused on? Are you breaking things down, right? Somebody asked for breakdowns. Do you have a 50-50 business? I don't know. What did you do last year? Were 50% of your sales listings and 50% of your sales buyers? Well, then you have a 50-50 business. Were 90% of your business buyers and 10% of your business listings last year? Well, then your business plan might want to start rectifying that and moving it more towards a 50-50 business. But remember, going from 90-10 to 50-50 in 12 months. Here's my advice. Stop torturing yourselves. Recognize that change sometimes takes more time than you want it to take. Right? Where's Nikki? That's for you, Nikki. Change sometimes takes more time, right, than you want it to take. And you have to start being okay with that. That's not to say give yourself a pass, but be realistic. Understand that moving a 90-10 business to a 50-50 business doesn't necessarily happen in 365 days. But what if you set a target of moving your business from 90-10, 90 buyers, 10% listings, to 80-20, or even 75-25? What if you stepped it this way? Use 2020 to get there. Why is it important to know the breakdown of where your business is going to come from, buy side, list side? Why is that important?
You could repeat it.
Well, yes, over time, duplication is very, very important. That's not the answer I was looking for, though, for the immediate.
Listings sell and buyers get their hearts broken.
Well, and so that may be true, but again, be careful that we're not building a business plan based on the current environment, because that may be true for the last 6 or 8 months. It may not be true for the next 6 months. So why else?
Is it because listings you can leverage your time better?
That is true. That listings create more leverage, and so therefore having more of a balanced listing inventory does allow you to spend more time growing the business than when you're buyer heavy. Still not quite the answer I'm looking for, though. Go ahead, Andy.
It would be based on your ratio that you want, you would change your behaviors in your 1-3-5 to reflect what you're looking to create.
Yeah, that's it. The activities are different.
Right.
Right. What you do is different. If you're seeking out listings, you're going to be doing different things. You need to have different things, know different things, and do different things than if you're seeking out buyers. Not all the time. Sometimes there are activities that may yield both, right? However, understand that a lot of the time the activities themselves are different, right? If I was really driving listings, I'd be hot and heavy into my database, but I'd also be hot and heavy into expireds, hot and heavy into for sale by owners, right? All those places that listings show up. Hosting open houses with the intent of finding a listing appointment, which is different than hosting an open house with the intent of finding buyers, which, by the way, is entirely different than hosting an open house with the intent of finding a new appointment. See how that changes things? Yeah, I'm going to host open houses. Okay, well, why are you hosting an open house? Well, because I want business. Somebody in the chat, I think it was Donna or Debbie before, said, let the universe help you. And the way you let the universe help you is to be really clear about what you're seeking. Right? So if you're hosting an open house, why are you doing that? That's an activity. What's the why behind that activity? Well, I'm hosting this open house to find one new appointment. That's different than I'm seeking out buyers, I'm seeking out sellers. I want one new appointment. And if you start judging those activities that way, when you host an open house and one person shows up and they become your one appointment, have you had a successful open house? Yeah, absolutely. Do you see how that then changes? Because oftentimes when I talk to many of you, you say, oh, I only had one person. Well, if that person turns into your appointment, mission accomplished. Put a check in the box, do a victory dance. You don't need 79 people to wander through the house in order to create victory for an open house. And yet, I digress. Jody.
Well, I was just going to say your actions, if your goal is to get listing appointments through your open houses, your activities going into that open house are going to be a whole lot different. Are you calling around all the neighbors to say, hey, I just wanted to invite you in, rather than just putting out an ad saying, hey, I'm having an open house and let everybody show up?
Yeah.
So your activities are more focused on what you're trying to accomplish.
Yeah, 100%. And to take that one step backwards to what we were talking about before, what Jody just said is an example of be specific about what it is you're looking for, and then monitor and track what you're doing, right? And allow the things that you note from what you're monitoring and tracking to inform future decisions, right? It's all about doing the things that we know bring the results. And so if you're looking for that listing appointment, you want more neighbors there, right? You see the difference? Here, write this word down. Strategic. What I want for each of you is that you will spend 2022 making decisions and then only implementing on things that are strategic to you and your business. Because if they're not strategic, they are typically a waste of time. There are a lot of people who do things because that's what they think realtors are supposed to do. Doesn't help you move forward. They're not terribly strategic, but everybody else does that. Well, here's my question. Do you want the income that everybody else seems to earn? Remember, the average income for our industry is paltry. It is food stamps worthy. People don't make money. And it's because they're not having this conversation. They're not focused on activities. Do you know the number of appointments you need to have, new appointments every single week, to achieve at the levels that you desire to achieve at? Because if you don't, you're missing the one metric that will move you forward. When you understand how many new appointments you need to achieve at the levels that you want to achieve at, and focus on obtaining those appointments, obtaining and then having those appointments, if you focus on nothing else, I guarantee you your business will grow. It's an appointments-based game. And the way you obtain appointments is strategic numbers. It drives me bonkers when people say, oh, real estate's a numbers game. No, it's not. It's a strategic numbers game. It's not just about throw it against the wall and see what sticks. Why would you do that? You just get a messy wall, right? Or a messy floor if nothing sticks. See, I thought that was humorous. Nobody laughed. Maybe you were all laughing on the inside. Right?
I was laughing on mute.
Okay, that's good. I was watching faces. I didn't see a lot of comedy. I didn't see a lot of. All right. So anyway, let's. I'm going to open this up for questions in just a second. But I want to just give you a couple of things around building your activities. Make sure your activities are specific to the task and specific to the outcome that you are looking for. Right? If you've decided you're going to list 5 expireds this year and you're not calling expireds, do you see how that's a problem? So make sure your activities feed what you're looking to achieve. Work off of deadlines. Work off of deadlines. The danger of January is that it's January. And too many people think that they have 11 and a half months to get all this work done. Work off of deadlines, work off of weekly and monthly conversations, right? April is showing us the 12-week year. Read that book, 100%. I would encourage you to look at your business in 90-day chunks. What is going to happen? What am I doing? What am I focusing on? What will I achieve between now and the end of March? January, February, March. You've got 13 weeks. One of those weeks is almost done. So you've got 12 weeks left. What will I accomplish in those 12 weeks? How will I build those 12 weeks? You then need to have some kind of accountability structure in place. And you can call it whatever you want, right? Some people don't like the word accountability. They use the word achievability. Some people don't like the words accountable or achievable. They use the word discipline. You can call it whatever you'd like, right? But there does have to be something that allows you to perform. Some version of either you or others holding your feet to the fire. Some people prefer the carrot, some people prefer the stick, right? You get to make all those decisions, but you need to have some kind of accountability structure. For most of you, that should include another human. Because most of us as humans are not terribly good at doing that for ourselves, right? So involve another human. Report your numbers to somebody. Pick somebody. You don't have anybody, report them to me. Just let me know. I have rules around it. Every day by 7. But what does that look like? I've had 1 out of my 2 appointments this week. I've had another 1 of my 2 appointments, so I'm 2 for 2. Great. Now you can either relax for the rest of the week or choose to overachieve, right? Because you've hit the number. The struggle is when you don't make those numbers non-negotiable and you decide that your 1 new appointment this week didn't show up, so I guess I'll just get it next week. That's dangerous. That's dangerous to your income. Non-negotiable means non-negotiable, right? Erica, you said that you work another job, right? And so if are you your own boss or do you work for someone?
I'm a postmaster, so I have my own office that I oversee.
Got it. And yet there is somebody that you report to at some point, at some level, right? And
Correct.
so if all of a sudden you just decided not to do the things that are on your job description, at some point, someone would have something to say about that, right? And the consequence may be that we might then get Erica full-time in real estate. Right?
I hope
Be-
that was the
be-
goal last year.
right? Because at some point, that person may say, well, you're not doing your job. Guys, it's the same in real estate. Is the CEO you looking at your activities and monitoring what it is the employee you is doing, the agent you is doing, and having some conversations, having some tough chats to say, okay, you know what, this performance, this behavior, these results, they're not cutting it. So what do we need to do to change those results? Again, don't bring judgment to the table, bring support to the table. What is it we can do differently to create different results? Because I want you to remember something. It has nothing to do with the market. Your income does not have anything to do with the market. Your income has nothing to do with how long you've been in the business. Your income has nothing to do with the color of your sign. It has to do with how you show up every day and what activities you focus on, right? I always find it fascinating when people say to me, "Oh, you know what? I think I'm going to leave the company I'm with and come to Keller Williams because I know I'll sell more real estate at Keller Williams." And I always ask them, say, "Well, why do you think that?" There are some right answers and there are mostly wrong answers. The right answer is because at KW, I feel like the mindset of achievement will be supported and the steps to how to get there will be outlined and supported and discussed. And there's 600 of us locally that can do that with and for each other. If the answer is, well, because I'm with a small company and you're a bigger company, that's not the right answer. Because all you're going to do is bring your bad habits from your small company to a larger company. If you're not willing to change you, the results don't change, right? This morning, somebody asked on the 9 a.m. call that the guest we had asked a question. What was your year like? And I was interested to see that there were some people who were like, it was my best year. And there are some people who said it was my worst year. Please note that has nothing to do with the market. That has to do with each of those people and what they chose to focus on. If you had your worst year in real estate last year, that was a choice you made. Sorry. That was a choice you made. If you had your best year in real estate, that was a choice that you made. And oh, by the way, yes, the market was red hot. But how else do you explain that some people this morning, I didn't make that up. For those of you who were on the call, you saw it in the chat. Some people said it was my best. Some people said it was my worst. So it has nothing to do with the market, clearly. All of those people commenting were all with the same company. So it clearly has nothing to do with the company you're with. Remember, you get to take 100% responsibility for all the awesome things that happen in your life, but you also get to take 100% responsibility for the stuff that doesn't go your way. So deadlines, accountability structure, tracking, you need to track stuff. How many people am I reaching out to? How much time am I spending on business development? What are the results? If I spent an hour, what were the results? Did I get my one appointment? How many listings did I take? How many buyer listings did I take? Right? By the way, a buyer listing is just you signed a new buyer. How many of those things actually went on to a closing? What do those numbers look like? Without you tracking your business, you can't diagnose where you may be able to improve. And then the other thing I want you to write down from an activities perspective is make sure that you also have a victory structure. You need to be able to recognize when celebration needs to happen. For those of you who are like those high driving D style achievers, right? That's for you. Take a minute and recognize when you've done something awesome and celebrate it. Have a victory loop, do a little dance, right? For those of you who are high I personalities, just one dance and just for a few minutes. We're not talking about a week-long extravaganza because you have to go and sell another house, right?
I want to add something right there, which is the flip side of that. You celebrate for that long and you commiserate for that long as well. If you have something that's pulling you down, don't let it last a week.
Yeah.
That's a trap.
Yeah, and it's a massive waste of time, isn't it?
Hey,
Have it
Rick.
feel good, like get it off your chest, but then move on from it. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Go ahead, John.
Hey, Rick. So I had a quick question because like I'm kind of conflicted. So one thing I hear from the pivot shift calls in the morning, it's like, 1-3-7, but like, 1 day off a week, 3 days off every month, and then a 7-day week off every quarter. And it's like I'm a high I, high D, but sometimes when it comes to work, I can be more high D. So it's like I'm more like go, go, go. I have to get this done. I have to do more. I have to. And it's like I'm also brand new to the real estate game. So it's like a part of me, it's like I haven't deserved that yet. So it's like, what am I doing vacationing? I still haven't sold a house yet. So it's like it's very conflicting.
Yeah, so I appreciate you saying that, John. And what I would say is don't be conflicted by it. Make a decision about how you'll behave for the next 90 days and then be secure in that decision. If yes, I am all for, I love the concept and teach and preach the concept of a week off a quarter, right? 4, maybe 6 weeks vacation each year. I'm loving that idea. However, sometimes we're in different modes, right? If you're in building mode, well, you may postpone that for a bit, right? And a bit might not be 5 years, right? However, it might be 6 months. You get to make a choice depending on what you're looking to accomplish, right? What I know is that the things that we have on our plate right now for the next 3 months, that's going to mean late nights. It's going to mean working more than not working. It's going to mean not jetting off to wherever I'd like to jet off to, right? It likely means not having that week in the first quarter because I have very specific targets and things that I want to be certain that we achieve by the end of the first quarter. So if you're in that building mode, just go ahead and decide that you're gonna go all out, and then go all out, but do it for 90 days. And then step back and say, okay, what did that bring me? Do I choose to do it for another 90 days? Do I choose to not do it? Do I choose to stop and take a weekly break now? Because the reason the 1-3-7 makes so much sense is because you are in an industry, and especially as the CEO and most of you sole employee in your business, you're in an industry that can create burnout. I don't love that term, and yet I'll use it to communicate what I'm trying to communicate, right? It can suck you in wholeheartedly. So be careful about that. But don't feel badly about a decision that you make to be in building mode. If you're in building mode, then just be in building mode and be okay with it. What drives me nuts is someone who says, oh, I'm in building mode, and then every time you see them says, oh my goodness, I'm so overworked. It's been so long since I've taken a vacation. All right, well, make a decision. You're either in building mode and doing that, which means now stop complaining that you're working so much because you've made that decision, or don't be in that and go and do your vacation, whatever. Like, make a choice and then live by the choice. Does that help, John?
Yeah, that definitely really helped a lot, honestly.
Good. And again, if you're newer to the business, be in building mode. Allow yourself to just be in building mode. Just go for it. Go achieve, right? Especially if you're somebody who's like, you know what, I'm just going to go and get stuff done. I'm going to do stuff. Cross it off the list. Go and get it done. Right? My grandmother, who will be 93 in a couple of months, has been telling me since I was a little boy, the concept of, you know what, I'll sleep when I'm dead. I'll sleep when I'm dead. The whole point behind that is, right, there's plenty of time to chill. There's also time to not chill. You just have to make a decision. Don't let anyone tell you it's the wrong one. All right, it is at 2:05. So how did we do in terms of checking off our, I know I have to deal with Nikki's referral question, so I will do that. I'm gonna speak very specifically to systems real quick. I'm gonna say one word, and some of you are not gonna be thrilled with the word that I say for systems. Command. Just learn it and use it. Learn it and use it. There's way too many people across the country who are running massive businesses inside of that platform. Just learn it and use it. So that is your systems, because everything inside of that creates an opportunity for you to leverage your time and yourself to create more business. The tools are powerful. Don't let people tell you they don't work. Like so much of that is so 2019, right? We're in 2022, guys. Let's just recognize what we have and just go and use it. Stop complaining about it. Is that a little rough? I didn't mean for it to be. And yet that is a systems, that's the systems conversation, right? Use the one we have, because it's awesome. And for most of you on this call, there are people who are making way more money than you are using that to run their businesses. So it's not like it doesn't function. If it works for them, there's no reason it can't work for us all. Anything else before we finish and I address Nikki's question?
Rick, I just want to say that one of my intentions is not just about what strategy to follow, but actually, kind of in terms of following that strategy, basically I want to have fun. If I'm stressing, if I'm, if there's something about whatever I'm doing that is, or at least have it be pleasant if it's not fun. Is I think in the past what I've done is when I'm doing some of the, doing a strategy, it's been about I've stressed during it. I've had agita and that kind of stuff. And so my goal now is to just enjoy myself as much as possible doing whatever strategies. And if a strategy is impossible for me to be pleasant or have fun at, or at least not have issues with, do another strategy, because obviously that one's not for me.
Yeah, and so I well appreciate that. The only caution I'll throw out at the tail end of that is be careful that you're not using joy as an excuse for not doing the work that's necessary, right? Donna said before, we have to be willing to do the things, right? The difference between people who achieve at a high level and the people who don't achieve much at all is that those people who achieve at a high level are willing to do the things that other people are not willing to do, right? You see them interviewed all the time. I closed 9 jillion houses last year. Well, how'd you do it? I walked around in the cold in Toronto and I door knocked for 9 months of the year, right? When that woman said that, I thought to myself, there's a perfect example of someone who makes I won't say it that way, a whole lot of money, right? Who most people would think, oh, well, she's been doing it a long time. She has builder connections, right? We generate all these things in our head. And the way she does it is she walks around in the cold and she knocks on doors, right? So, and I can tell you, that is not fun for her, right? But she knows that if she's willing to do that, the results that brings her are fun. And what she can do with those results is even more fun, right? So I don't disagree with what you said, Andy. I just want to throw out a caution on the other end of that, because that's one of those things that one can hear or say, but then go overboard with as well. So as long as it stops here and you find things that are in that zone for you, and that, because if you can find things that create results that do make you happy, well, you're just more apt to keep doing them, right? That was the point you were trying to make, I think.
Yeah, I mean, and also it's kind of my attitude towards the business in general too. Just looking at really what I think about real estate, and am I having what kind of thoughts am I having? What's the big picture of it? And I mean, for some reason, I just thought last night, real estate is a little bit like you're at a casino where where the roulette wheel, wins like 2% of the time, but you're given free money and you can sit there and spin that wheel all day long.
Yeah, no, 100%. I'll give you a quick example. I am finally, since Thanksgiving through today, I have been in the middle personally of, most of you know that I invest in houses as well. I've been in the middle of 6 different purchases and closings. Not because I decided to buy 6 at one time. Something happened where I went and I bought a condo for my grandmother. That came out of the blue. I wasn't planning on that one. I was buying 2. I had bought 2 in the summer, and we had to change around some money, so there was some refinance. That 6 all at one time. If you think that's fun, trust me, it is no fun to have 6 of those transactions personally involved with going on at the same time, trying to work with all the documentation and the paperwork that all the loan officers want, all that crap. What's my point? My point is you just push through it, even if it's unpleasant, because those 6 purchases lead me towards that freedom day, right? And so that big why for me is all about that day where I get to wake up and say, okay, I choose to do something different. I don't choose to go to work every day because I've created a world where my passive income outweighs my needs, right? That day is not here yet for me. And so I just, as unfun as it is, I just push through it. So again, just a balancing act. Just make sure that you're not, it's not all about
No, I
fun
understand.
and being pleasant. Yeah.
Yep.
All right, guys. So thank you. I appreciate the extra 12 minutes that you gave. I hope we covered the things that you wanted to cover today. I know I didn't show you a 411 and a GPS. I decided halfway through that what we will do is we'll just have a session on 411 because it's a longer conversation than we had time to kind of fit into today. But I'll put a 411 class on the schedule in the next couple of weeks, and we'll also talk about it probably on day 2 of Ignite. So if you want to plug into next Wednesday night between 4 and 6, we'll also plug that into to a conversation in that session. Nikki asked before, so if you don't need the referral in another state answer, I will see you guys tomorrow morning. And if you do, hang out because I'm going to give that now. So Nikki, you have somebody where?
She's in North Carolina.
Say it again because you bubbled out.
North Carolina, Charleston.
In North Carolina, where? Say it again. Where in North Carolina?
In Charleston, I believe she said.
Okay.
Hold on one second.
Charleston, South Carolina?
Yes, sorry.
Okay. So in Charleston, South Carolina. So the simple answer to your question is a one-word answer that I'll then expand upon. The simple answer is command. Inside of command, you have a referral network. And if you go to that referral network and just simply seek out Charleston, South Carolina market centers, you can then find the team leaders of the market centers that are in Charleston. I think there's 2 or 3 in Charleston. So she maybe wants to interview with all 3. You maybe want to just pick one and send her to that one. But the team leader of the market center that she is closest to would be who you would connect with. And then you had the right idea. I wouldn't just give her the team leader's name and have her call. I would personally have you call the team leader and say, hey, this is Nikki from Connecticut. My friend Maria just got her license. I'd like to connect the 2 of you so that she can understand what your market center has to offer. And then I would follow that so then give the information, follow it up with an email. So you have that documented in writing that you're referring this agent to that team leader. Because remember, you do want the tail end benefit of your friend naming you as your sponsor, as her sponsor for profit share purposes once she gets hired.
Okay.
Does that help?
Oh, yes.
Here's the other way you can do it, right? I still am a little old school. If you go to kw.com, which is the public facing website, and click on search for office and type in Charleston, South Carolina, you'll get the Charleston market centers on kw.com And when they list them out, they typically list the team leaders as well with some contact information. So you can get the market centers and the team leaders that way as well. So two different ways that you can do that. But again, reach out to the team leader, have a conversation, solidify it with an email follow-up, and let your friend know that that person's going to call in X period of time.
Okay. Now on the command, it'll show team leader, not just like the agents. It'll show the team leader for that market center, or do I have to call to find out who they are?
Yes, that's a great question that I don't 100% know the answer to. When you search for a market center in command, I don't know the answer to that. So the backup way is to go to kw.com and search for office, but I'm pretty certain in the referral tool, you can look up offices that give you the team leader's number. Just don't come back and say you lied to me, because I'm not 1,000% sure they'll give you the team leader. If not, you'll get the market center. You can just call the market center and ask for the team leader.
Okay. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Julie.
Hi. I wanted to implement what Julia Presta was talking about on the 9 a.m. morning calls. And she mentioned that she advertises for the 5 top producing business centers. And I was wondering what those 5 are.
So are you asking for the top 5 most profitable market centers in the country?
Yes.
Yeah. So off the top of my head, I can tell you number 1 is San Antonio, Texas. Heritage is the name of that market center. Ridgewood, New Jersey. The Ballantine, I think Ballantine in North Carolina. I'm going to have to look, Julie, and circle back to you.
Okay.
Within the top 10, right? So the Stanford Market Center is either number 9 or number 10. There's two Atlanta-based market centers in the top 10. So anything in Atlanta would be good. Those are Gene Rawls market centers. I think Peachtree Road and not Sugarloaf. I forget the other one's name. There's a market center outside of Cleveland, I think, that's in the top 10. I'll get it to you, because I just can't remember. Can't remember. Yeah. All right, John, bring us home.
Real quick question, Rick. I believe we had a class before the New Year's break, and you were like, if this is good, send me an email for topics. We're gonna have classes every Friday at 11 or something like that. And I had topics that I wanted to send you. I completely forgot to email you, and so I just wanted to know: are we still doing like those 11 a.m. Friday classes?
Yeah, I'll do whatever you guys want. So if you have a topic, send it to me, or just tell me right now, and I'll find a time to do it.
All right, I'm gonna get you an email because I can't think off the top of my head.
Okay. Well, yeah. So just follow that up, and we'll do that. And what I would encourage everybody on this call to do, if you want more from a goal setting perspective and a goal implementation perspective, plug into the MREA book club, because the MREA it is the blueprint for achievement in real estate. And you might as well fill your brain with Gary's words. We'll do that over 4 weeks starting on Monday. Read the first 97 pages by Monday, and we'll brainstorm around mindset. All righty.
Rick, I
Yes.
also, my sister in Trinidad is I was looking for an office. I know we have one in Port of Spain, but I was not able to find anything. Do you know if that office is still in operation?
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that. What I would do is I would go to kwworldwide.com.
I did. It's not showing up, but I
Yeah,
know
so
family reunion, they said it did open it, so nothing is showing up.
yeah, it could be that that Trinidad and Tobago are a region that's been opened, and there's no actual office on the ground yet. A number of the newer regions around the world have regions that are open, so everyone they announce, "Yay, Trinidad!"
Yeah.
Except there's no bricks and mortar on the
jumping
ground.
in family reunion, and then there's
Yeah.
not a physical. I
Yeah,
researched everything.
The other thing I would do, Debbie, is I would email Bill Soderoff.
Start
yeah,
off.
yep, SOTEROFF, I think is his name. You can find him in the white pages or in the referral network. Email Bill Soderoff. I think he's the president still of KW Worldwide, and ask him, hey, I want somebody here for this purpose. Who can you point me to?
All right. Thank you.
You are welcome.
Have a great,
Guys, I hope this was helpful.
awesome
Have a great
class.
afternoon. We'll see you soon.
Yeah, bye. Thank you. Kiki.
Thank you.
Kiki. Look, I'm gonna give you a ball.